and sacrifice formal veterans dinner this evening. I want to recognize and thank a number of people who made this event possible. These people have each, in their own way, lived lives of personal courage and sacrifice, none more so than the Vietnam veterans and former POWs who we share a meal with this evening. Commander retired Everett Alvarez Jr., JD, accompanied by his wife Tammy. Colonel retired Michael Brazelton, accompanied by his lovely wife as well, Gloria. Unfortunately, Captain retired Michael Red McDaniel, who would have been accompanied by his son, Michael McDaniel. They couldn't make it this evening because emergency came up, and we're not exactly sure what it is, but they're in our prayers. But in his absence will be felt, and his seat will remain empty in recognition of his sacrifices that he's made to our nation. I want to recognize a few distinguished guests. Our keynote speaker, Lieutenant Colonel retired and former Congressman Alan West, who now serves also as the Executive Director of the Committee to Support and Defend. Former Acting Secretary of Defense, my friend Christopher Miller. Who is serving tonight as our commander. Dr. Sebastian Gorka is apparently running late. Supervisory Special Agent and also my friend retired Mike Van Meter is with us. And in particular, I want to personally thank on behalf of the board of Chasing Freedom Virginia, our sponsors for the evening, the Alvarezes, Commander Alvarez and his wife Tammy, Mr. Devinder Singh, Lieutenant Colonel retired Sam Wong, the commander of VFW Post 3150, who you're going to hear from shortly, Eagle Tech, who's also on our board. Edward is on our board and runs all of our AV and keeps us from losing our minds. And WMAL, who's represented by Jeff Bowden, who's here tonight. Thank you all for your support. But I also want to identify, while I have your undivided attention, we have a number of authors here that are eating with us tonight, and we wanted to highlight some of the work that they've done. In particular, Barbara Wyatt, author of We Came Home, the first-hand stories of Vietnam POWs. Dr. Daniel Brubaker, author of By the People, the 2020 U.S. presidential election and the theft of Americans' right to self-rule. David Shepard, author of Norton's Choice and Inside Politics Expose. And Curtis Fox, author of Hybrid Warfare, the Russian Approach to Strategic Competition and Conventional Military Conflict. I already thanked Dan Irby, but I also want to thank Paul Hersey for playing the piano for us this evening and traveling all the way across the country to do so. And finally, I want to thank my amazingly beautiful wife, Amy. Chasing Freedom, Virginia would not be possible without her boundless tolerance of late meetings in my living room, and I am blessed by her unwavering love and support. So thank you all for your support. So Chasing Freedom Virginia. The mission of Chasing Freedom Virginia is very simple. It's to preserve and promote the individual rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as envisioned by our nation's founders in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights. We have 4 simple goals: to serve as a unified voice in Virginia in the defense of conservative values, to mobilize the people of Virginia in the defense of conservative values, and to be a trusted source of information on civics and Virginia politics, and to vet, approve, endorse, support conservative candidates running for office across Virginia. Over the last 4 years, Chasing Freedom Virginia has grown into one of the largest grassroots organizations in Virginia with members all across the Commonwealth. But what does it mean to chase freedom? Chasing Freedom Virginia was born out of the realization by a small group of people in 2020, sitting in my living room, that our country, our republic, was in danger. It was in danger because of a lack of unity of purpose as a people, a growing distrust in each other, as well as our government institutions, and extreme hyperbolic political rhetoric that was tearing at the very fabric of our nation. This was all amplified by social media and twisted for corrupt purposes by both domestic and foreign actors, creating ever-growing chaos and confusion. We believed that the solution, or at least part of the solution, was to create an organization that would conduct thorough analysis and create an impartial voter's guide for federal and statewide offices in Virginia. Over the last 4 elections, we have surveyed hundreds of candidates, conducted hundreds of personal interviews, researched their voting records, and investigated accusations. The goal? To publish all this information in a single place, side by side with all the other candidates running in that particular race, to provide the most comprehensive source of information on each candidate. To be included in the voter's guide, the information had to come directly from the candidate or from an unimpeachable source, such as their own website, their social media, their own public statements, and their public voting record. If a candidate refused to participate, which often happened, we did the research, we filled out the survey on their behalf, and we published it with all the sourcing. We published this information without any bias, editorializing, or manipulation of any kind on every candidate running for office, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, including their spelling errors. A betting board then scored all the candidates along a spectrum from proven strong conservative to proven strong liberal, based on all the information that we were able to accumulate. It is only at that point that our members from across Virginia would vote to endorse a particular candidate in each race in the primary who aligned most strongly with our Chasing Freedom Virginia values. Even after our endorsement, we leave all the evaluations and all the sourced information up on all the candidates until the people of Virginia make their final choice in the primary as to whom they will nominate. We deliver this information for both parties directly to tens of thousands of voters across Virginia so that they can make the most informed choice possible without bias, editorialization, or manipulation. There is no organization in Virginia, in the country for that matter, that we know of that does this level of analysis and publishes it in this fashion. That is what Chasing Freedom Virginia has been doing for the last 4 years. But that is only one aspect of what Chasing Freedom Virginia does. Because not only do we want to be a trusted source of information on these issues, we want to bring together Virginians and to mobilize Virginians in defense of our American values. Benjamin Franklin said at the birth of our country, "We have a republic if we can keep it." Why did he say that, you think? I know why. Because the founders were students of history, and they knew, better than we do, I believe, the nature of men. They knew there would be enemies and threats, both domestically and foreign enemies, who would try and ruin our republic. They knew it then. And they gave us 4 documents. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia in June of 1776. A month later, the Declaration of Independence, July 1776. And then 13 years later, the U.S. Constitution in March of 1789. And then the Bill of Rights followed in December of 1791. So it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. It took 15 long years from the ratification of the Virginia Constitution to the ratification of the Bill of Rights, 15 years. And those were long years back then. They feel like long years now, don't they? Every American is tied to these documents. Every American. Every American is protected by them, and they should know and understand them fully, but sadly they do not. But we as veterans, and I don't mean to exclude anyone such as law enforcement or political leaders, but we have something else. Veterans have something else. We swear an oath to protect and to support and defend it. If you don't swear an oath, you benefit from those documents, but you are not oath born to support and defend it. And those documents enshrine our American values. That oath is the living, breathing values of our founding fathers. We have sworn that oath to the U.S. Constitution, and we have to bear that oath against all enemies because we believe oaths matter. As you sit here tonight, you are already chasing freedom. But what is special about this night, tonight? Since the American Civil War, 1.185 million of our fellow veterans from all branches have given their last measure in service to that oath. And over 500,000 remain missing. Almost 100,000 of them just from World War I and World War II alone. But do you know who is not counted among those numbers? All of those who went to war and returned. Many, many of them having lost friends and family members only to return home and have to go on living without them. Men and women of courage and sacrifice who went into darkness on our behalf. Many of them never returned the same. The wall of honor behind me brings them all back together again. Those killed in action, the missing, and those who returned home but are no longer with us today. Because they are all one long line of our countrymen who have lived, served, and died for us. They are our great-grandfathers and our great-grandmothers. They're our grandfathers and our grandmothers, our fathers and our mothers, our brothers and our sisters, and someday, even now, some of them are our sons and daughters. Notice I didn't say friends are on the wall, because if we served with them, we knew them not as friends because they became our brothers and our sisters. Living lives of courage and sacrifice comes with its tolls, and we are all willing to pay them. But how many of them returned only to take their own lives because of the trauma they suffered as a result of their time and service to our country? I can say with absolute confidence that virtually every single veteran in here, and most of those who did not serve themselves, also know someone personally whom they loved who has taken their own life as a result of that trauma. We are here tonight to honor them, to honor them all. Some of them that gave just monumental, unimaginable sacrifices for our country sit among us today. Thank you